You're listening to a Brawl Network production.
Touchdown, Larry Tonka!
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Dolphin Brawl Nation? Once again, we are back with now the 20th episode of the Finish Line, and it's been a blessing to get through all 20 episodes with the legendary Richmond Webb and, of course, the Triple OG, Mr. BallGame. As usual, you can follow all of us on Twitter. You can follow Richmond Webb on Twitter at Richmond Webb. You can follow Mr. BallGame on Twitter at KCTSR, and you can follow myself on Twitter at _real_reason, and you can follow Dolphins Brawl on every social media outlet at Dolphins Brawl. Richmond, BallGame, it's a blessing to be back here with you guys. How are you doing this week?
Truly a blessing. First of all, I like to, I've been getting a lot of love and concern on Twitter as far as, I'm in Texas, but, as far as the Midwest, the weather, stuff like that, but I'm good. So thanks everybody for your prayers, stuff like that. And then especially, tonight being able to go live with not only just the audio, but the video. So like you said, 20 episodes, doesn't seem like we've done that many, but man, it's flowing good. And I like the chemistry that we all three have together. So I'm good and I'm excited and ready to do the show. How you doing, BallGame?
I'm great, brother. I was definitely every morning I done got up since that storm hit y'all out there, man. Been sending them prayers out to y'all, man. I know it's crazy. Never would have thought that Texas would have been getting hit with as much snow as they getting hit with, but times are changing and things are changing as well around the globe. So it is what it is. But nevertheless, happy to be here, man. As always, with my two of my favorite guys. You know what I'm saying? And no short of fashion of words for how much, I love you two, man. You know what I'm saying? We get to do what we do best, man. Talk about this great team of ours and, give these fans some good content and let's get it.
Yep. And guys, as always, you can find this podcast on iTunes and Spotify, not just live here tonight on YouTube. But let's hop right into it, guys, because we got no rest for the wicked here. We got a lot of topics to go over tonight. So let's start off with the very first one, and that is, are the Dolphins going to be big players in free agency? And the reason why I asked this is you guys have both now seen it. Barry Jackson's article from a couple days ago, it was, if you go by the title, he was mainly talking about wide receivers, but you had to read a little bit deeper into it. And there was a really key thing in this I wanted to talk about. And it says right here, with about $34 million in cap space and much of that needed for signing a draft class, a backup quarterback, a center, a defensive tackle, and 2 linebackers. And he didn't mention X has to be re-upped here in terms of money. But it says right here, it's worth noting that the Dolphins have told at least one NFL person that they're not sure how active they'll be in free agency in terms of pursuing players who would cost much. Richmond, let's start with you because me and you were talking about this backstage a little bit. Give us your thoughts on this whole situation in terms of, you talked about the Patriots ties.
Yeah, I thought it was a great article. Read it. Glad you sent it to me. Just in that bit, I think the key is the last words of what you just wrote in terms of pursuing players who would cost too much. And we already know Coach Flores comes from New England. And if you look at, Coach Belichick and the way that they ran things in New England is they would add free agents, but you'd rarely ever seen them go out and overpay for, free agent stuff. And one that just pops out in my mind is, Randy Moss went there a bit. They got the value added from him. Him and Tom Brady set records that year, this and that. And so that's his MO, that's his method of operations. And I think that he's going to kind of stick to that. They've had success. They went out and acquired guys last year, signed them to the defense, built the defense, and everything gelled and worked. So I think we will be active in free agency, but I think we'll be looking for value. We're not going to be going out and overpay for guys just because they have a big name or, they hit the market or whatever. It's got to fit within the scheme of what their Coach Flores and Chris Greer are trying to do. But I thought it was a great article. I think it's good for fans to read because it kind of helps you understand that you can't just go out and just get anybody you want, because you got to fit everything within the cap, and they give you how much cap space possibly have now and how much more we could have if, you cut a player here or there or whatever. Sometimes you can restructure contracts to free up cap space. So I thought it was a great article. I enjoyed reading it, but I think we'll be active, but I think we're going to be looking for value, not going to be going out and just overpaying for guys to say, oh, we got this big name player or this. That's not the Miami Dolphins. If you're looking for that, you're going to be disappointed.
And BallGame, Richmond makes a very, very good point in terms of the salary cap. Right now, we're sitting about $35.5 million. If we restructure guys like Van Noy, McCain, and a few others, and we make some cuts, we could get to around $57-60 million. But the thing is, like I said, X needs more guaranteed money. We need to put about $16 to $18 million aside just for our draft class alone. Needham, he's a restricted free agent right now. Right. Money needs to be spent on our, in-house on our own guys who have earned it. And if you do, let's put that together. That could be around $30 million just between the draft class, more money for X, and Needham. And that, if we get up to $30 million, again, boom, we're cutting that in half, $30 million. So I don't see a $16 million receiver. I don't see them paying $14 million for an Aaron Jones, because that's half your cap on one guy that you got remaining if it all plays out that way. What are your thoughts on how active we'll be, and what was your takeaway from that little excerpt out of the Barry Jackson article? Was that where your mindset was already? Because, you guys go on Twitter, you go on whatever social media outlet, Miami Dolphin fans hear any name and all of a sudden they got to be coming here, right? So where are you at with this whole ball game?
I was months ago already in the same mindset of this article. I'm just glad that he had the opportunity to sit down and craft it up so it can make sense to the casual fan that didn't understand what needs to happen. I think Flores and Greer are going to do their due diligence to ensure that what they've put together thus far can stay together as much as possible. I don't think Albert Wilson probably will be back, so that's going to be some money freed up. I don't see Van Noy and McCain and any of the other guys that they need to restructure not doing so to keep this thing together, because what he did is put together a group of guys that really and truthfully want to play for each other, still make decent money, but at the same time try to do something that no one has ever done before for the Miami Dolphins. And I believe he can sell them on that. I believe that they're the type of guys and character guys that will indeed take the cuts to ensure that we can get the offense situated to the degree in which it needs to be, and at the same time bring these rookies in and show them what it's like to be true NFL superstar. I think one thing that he did mention was that these receivers are going to be extremely high priced, and that's not without it. That's never going to be something that I think we do. Now, if we can get a Curtis Samuels, I don't even know what the market. I haven't taken a look, to be honest with you, but what the market is going to probably, what kind of market he's going to command. But if it's anything remotely close to $3 or $4 million outside of what they have already tabbed, then it won't happen, man. And we'll just go young in the draft, which at this point you got veteran presence in Parker, Preston Williams coming back, should be the foot's 100% now. So that should make him that much better. And then just fill the slots, because as he said in there, that's what we need. We need a slot receiver. You know what I mean? And we can get that all day in the draft. You know what I'm saying? And you don't have to overpay. We won't necessarily have to overpay for that. I don't see them if they can't get the guys and identify the guys that they want for the right price, then we'll just stay the course, man, and just get it in the draft.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just to put it out there, the market value I'm hearing for Curtis Samuel is about 12 to 13.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna pay him that.
So, he kind of, if you go look at our top 2 targets last year, technically DVP and Mike Gesicki, when it was all said and done because of Preston's injury, they both averaged about 1.7 yards of separation on average per route. Samuel averaged 3.5, and that was tied for 6th in the NFL. I think he had like 14 touchdowns last year too. So, I know, I guess he's going to deem it, but yeah, I agree with you. I think if they can get him for around 12, 11, I can see that.
11, 11, maybe.
But if he's asking for 13, 14, I don't know if they're going to do that. You know what I mean? So, okay, let's keep it moving here because, and I want to start again with you, Richmond. A big topic right now is the fact that the Ravens gave Orlando Brown the right to go seek a trade. Now, he plays right tackle, as we all know, but the word is he wants to make the shift to left tackle because he has played snaps there at left tackle, obviously. And, this is a guy who he's only allowed 6 sacks in 3 years. You know what I mean? He's allowed 67 pressures in those 3 years as well. And that's on about 2,389 snaps at right tackle and another 859 at left. I got to ask you this, Richmond. You played the position. You were one of the best to ever do it in terms of offensive tackle. Is Orlando Brown a guy you would potentially look at moving draft capital for? And if so, would you pay him left tackle money to keep him at right tackle and kick Hunt inside the guard?
Well, I'll just put it like this. I think if he's going to fit within the Dolphins scheme, I think he'll play right tackle. And I think what Chris Greer and Coach Flores will come up and say, if they're going to trade for him, it's got to make sense. They're not going to give away too much in the trade because I think they value building the team throughout the draft. So if they want too much compensation, that deal's not going to happen. But it possibly could happen, and if it does, I think they say, we want you to play right tackle if you come here. And like I said, and you guys have said the previous weeks, there are a lot of players that's paying attention to what's going on in Miami. And they've seen how Coach Flores has turned this thing around, and we're not that far away. So a lot of times guys will say, well, hey, I'll go there and play because I know they're headed in the right direction to win. So I think the thing to look at is, I think like BallGame was saying previous with the receivers and stuff like that, is they're going to evaluate him. They're going to grade him, and they say, okay, if he's going to fit within our scheme, we're willing to spend X amount of dollars. And if that'll work, they can start a negotiation. They'll say, okay, well, what do you want for him if you do trade him? If they say something crazy, he'll remain a Baltimore Raven. They're not. This is just not the way we do things anymore. So, and like you said, they'll go through the draft or they'll look at other possible free agents they can fill that void with. So, I think it's definitely interesting. It's intriguing, and what also is intriguing is when a team normally says, "Hey, you can go, shop or whatever with other teams, this and that." They value you, but they're probably saying either you're going to want too much money and we're not willing to spend that, or if we do let you shop and the numbers are not coming back like the player expects them to, then they say, okay, the bar has been set or the market has been set on this guy, so we know rather than have to spend a couple more million, we can get him cheaper if he wants to stay there.
And before I get to BallGame, Richmond, because you've watched some stuff on Panay, is it more tempting to take a kid like that who we've all seen can play right tackle, and he has a very, very high ceiling. You guys all know how I feel about him, and the main thing is he comes on a 4-year plus a 5th-year option rookie contract. Would that be something that's more appealing to you than, let's be honest, at Orlando Brown's age, they might be asking for a Laramie Tunsil-like return. And I think you're right, Richmond. I don't see us giving up 2 firsts and 2 seconds for anybody. So, before I get to BallGame, I just want to hear your thoughts. Would you be more tempted to take a guy like Panay at 3 with that rookie contract and that ceiling as opposed to giving up draft capital for someone like Orlando Brown?
Yeah, I think they explore all options, and I've seen this young man, definitely a player. I think the thing, and I'm sure they're going to have their ear out there, is this kid, they don't come along that often with that type of skill set. So the good thing, we're in position, and I think Trevor Lawrence probably is still the first pick for the Jaguars or whatever. If they're not for certain what the Jets will do, if they think Panay will be there, they might say, hey, we're going to take our chance. And if he's there, we're going to take that kid. So, and that's definitely, like you say, if you can sign a rookie, the cap space is not going to be as much, and you got that guy for long term. So they're going to play out all options, and, I'm sure they got the draft board and moving names and playing different scenarios. You got to do that. But when you got that type of player on the board, definitely they're not just saying we're locked into this guy. They just said, well, hey, let's see what they're talking about. Let's see what if we are going to acquire him, let's see what it's going to cost us. If it makes sense, we'll look at it. But if not, we can always go in the draft. You got the third pick, you got some leverage. So they're not in a panic mode. That's the way I see it.
Agreed. BallGame. What are your thoughts on Orlando Brown, the player? And I'm going to pose the same question to you. Is a stud like Penei Sewell sitting there with a potential 4-year plus 50-year option? Because where I'm at. I think Zach Wilson is going to be a New York Jet. Mm-hmm. There's just, there's a lot of talk about that. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm sticking to my guns on that one. What are your thoughts on trading for Orlando Brown? How much you think it would cost to make that trade? Do you think Laramie Tunsil would be the baseline? And give me your thoughts on a rookie contract with Panay opposed to having to trade capital plus pay financial capital to a proven player like Orlando Brown.
Well, see, here the thing for me is that Baltimore giving him the permission to go and shop himself are looking at the fact that he's still on their books for $920,000 this year. So to them, if he can't find a suitor, somebody willing to come up and pony up what they may potentially ask for, which is going to be that huge question mark, like we've all said, then they got him for another year, and is he going to not play right tackle for them? Because Stanley's coming back. So he should have known, right? And I think, I don't knock the kid for what he's trying to do, but at the same time, you only got moved to the left tackle because your starter there, your all-pro there, got hurt. So immediately, Stanley's healthy. They're going to go with him because they know what they got in Stanley. Oh, they know what they got in you too, kid, but you can't get right. I mean, can you really be asking for left tackle money and you playing the right tackle? I say get what you can get. But you're dealing with an organization that you got a right-handed quarterback. The left side is already protected, and they can't justify giving you the same type of money Ryan Stanley getting. So if he is willing, right? I think maybe if his agent is listening, if he's willing to essentially listen to reason, right, and no pun intended, and go through the whole process of thinking about long term, sitting down with us and negotiating a contract that puts him somewhere in the top maybe 7 or 8 for the position would be a good move for him. Now, ideally, that means that we're off of Penei Sewell, and that kind of bugs me a bit too, because you're right in aspects of the contract, right? We're gonna be Brown's gonna command a lot more money, and he's gonna impact our salary cap a lot faster than Sewell would. But in the same sense, we already know what Ryan Stanley can do. Penei Sewell, we're banking on his potential, right? And so you have to weigh the two. I think what it comes down to is weighing the two and trying to figure out, are we basing this on what he can be and where we are now as a team and how close we are, or let's get the guy, go ahead and plug and play, and we know what he's going to give us, and we don't have to worry about it for another couple of seasons anyway because he's already proven he can play the spot. that's the type of thing they're dealing with. But for me, I believe they're going to exhaust all the options. I believe his name is somewhere written on the board right now with a big circle around it saying, okay, how much would we be willing to pay this kid if he's willing to sign with us? And how much is that going to leave us not being able to do it? Because if they sign Ryan Stanley, then you can pretty much take Sewell off the board, and then we can trade back and get even more. But so that takes us off of that number 3 salary with that first, with the first option, lessening that a little bit too over the course of the next 5 seasons, and we're still good because I think Ryan Stanley, you can't go wrong with either Penei Sewell or Ryan Stanley. So I mean, it's a great place. I think without a shadow of a doubt, it's a great place for us to be in. And like Richmond said, that number 3 pick, man, it don't even really matter what the Jets do now at this point. I think the Dolphins are going to be able to manipulate the board to their favor to get what they want and not have to worry about it being somebody a concession. A concession pick. Oh, well, we didn't get this guy, so we got to get this guy. No, they're gonna get who they want, and you spend the money. So free agency, if they don't come away with the right tackle, we're still good.
Yeah. And he meant Orlando Brown, not
Orlando Brown.
Stanley. Yeah. And see, this is where I'm at. First of all, I think Penei has a higher ceiling than what Orlando Brown has. A, I'll start there. B, I'm starting to hear the chatter through the media of what I've been saying for weeks, that there's a possibility that the Dolphins are going to be aggressive and move back up for someone. And, I'm going to stick to my guns that don't be surprised if they take Penei at 3 and they say, okay, what can we package with the 18th to get back into the top 10 to get Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle? Because if we take Penei, I think number 5 is going to be Jamar Chase just for the reunion.
Right.
So, I think it's time to be aggressive. I'm sick and tired of letting the board settle for us, because that's how we ended up with Austin Jackson and not Tristan Wirfs. And that's no knock on Austin Jackson, but he's not Tristan Wirfs, all right? Yeah. So, I mean, that's just where I'm at. All right, so a lot of chatter going on right now, obviously with J.J. Watt, since he's been released, ties to Green Bay, ties to the Steelers, obviously, because T.J. Watt, his brother. But a real question has been posed. Should the Dolphins be considering J.J. Watt in free agency? Because it's clear we still need help with the pass rush a little bit. That's why a lot of people have been talking about us maybe taking an edge somewhere in the 2nd or in the 3rd, or if we're sitting at 18 still, and a guy like Kwity Paye is there, or Alujari from Georgia is there, or Joseph Asai, there's potential that they could make a move at edge. So, BallGame, let's start with you on this one. Yep. Should the Miami Dolphins, if the price is right, should the Miami Dolphins be considering a guy like J.J. Watt, because he can sign anywhere right now? He doesn't have to wait till March 17th.
Well, I think the key thing that you just mentioned is if the price is right. If the dollars don't make sense, then no, by all means, he'd just be bringing on a high price name. But again, I think the beauty of what we do defensively is the fact that you never know where the pressure is coming from. Right? I mean, I think the scheme is designed purposely for that point. So I don't at any point take away the thought process that the Dolphins are going to draft even more defensive players in this next draft, and probably even pick up an edge player. But that player is going to be brought on essentially to learn from the guys in front of him for the longevity, for the long haul. You feel what I'm saying? So, and I think in that aspect, J.J. Watt is a short, quick fix to something that we're looking for, long, sustained, scheme fit and continuity. And if the price makes sense, you got to always look into it. But I don't really think they're looking to bring another big name on, because you got a defense that's already featuring 2 big names. Your cornerbacks, Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, are your big names there, and you bringing in a J.J. Watt. I mean, he still might have something in the tank, but is he really going to do? I do think he's really going to do that much of a make that big of a difference for us when Ogba had 9 by himself and Jerome had 7, and a couple other people. We created pressure. We had sacks. We just didn't do it conventionally the way most teams do it, with only one guy or two or three guys, you know what I'm saying, being featured as their, as their premier pass rushers. I think that's kind of the reason why our defense is designed the way it is, so that you can't key on one guy every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So
agreed.
That's my take. I don't know. I mean, always check to see if the numbers make sense, but in the long scheme of things, let him go play with his brother, man.
I got to ask you this, Richmond. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Should the Miami Dolphins be considering a guy like J.J. Watt to help the pass rush? But I'm going to add something. Okay. Do you think he's at a stage in his life where he's not looking to cash in? He's looking to go after chips, right? Like, I don't think he's looking for $17 million that he just got out of at Houston. I think now it's about, getting – that's why there's rumors about Tampa Bay as well. Where do you think J.J. Watt stands right now in terms of getting paid or winning championships? And do you think Miami, because you said it yourself, a lot of people are taking notice of the culture here. 90% of the league lives down in Miami in the offseason. Should they be considering J.J. Watt? And where do you stand with your thought process of him wanting to get paid or get championships are more important to him right now at this stage in his career?
I think the price is right is at the top of it, and you can highlight that and put asterisks on both sides of that statement. But at this point in his career, I think what's most important to JJ is trying to win a championship. And I think I've even heard speculation that he wants to go play, with both his brothers in Pittsburgh, and that wouldn't be a bad move before him. But I think he understands. He's not the player when he was winning Defensive Player of the Year a few years back. He had some injuries, stuff like that. And even this past year, JJ's not playing 65 plays a game. So if he came to the Dolphins, he might play 20, maybe 25 plays a game. So you can't expect a salary of, 15, 17 million when you're playing, maybe a third to almost half of the snaps. So I think his deal is trying to position himself to where he has an opportunity to go to the playoffs and possibly win a championship. But I think the Dolphins will consider it, but if the number's too high, it's just going to be like anything else. We can find a young guy, and they work with a lot of guys at the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. So they saw a lot of young talent, and like you said, if BallGame said if you could put one of those young guys behind our two edge rushers that we have now and let them learn, and you keep a fresh rotation of guys in there for like third down or when you get in pass situations like that, that's going to only strengthen our defense. But just to bring a guy in because he has a big name, and a lot of people say, oh, we got J.J. Watt, but J.J. Watt is not the Defensive Player of the Year type caliber player he was a few years ago. Okay. So I think that's what the fans has got to really understand. Don't just listen to the names or this and that. Understand where the player is now, and he's not the same player that he was a few years ago.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I mean, his last really good season was 2018, but then if you go back to that stretch of 2012 to 2015, he was obviously absolutely ridiculous. But, just to put things into context, he has 115 sacks in his career, and the crazy thing is only 30 of those have come since 2016. All right. That's Richmond is not lying to you guys when he's not the same player. This was a guy who was, between 2012 to 2015, 80 plus pressures a season up to 120 in 1 year. And, last year he only had 45 pressures last year. So, Richmond, you're dead on with what you were saying. All right, guys. What we're going to do quickly. Sorry, did you have something to add, BallGame?
No, I'm just saying that's a nosedive. That's the true definition of a nosedive if I ever seen one.
Yeah, agreed. All right, guys, we're just going to hear from our sponsors quickly, and then we're going to get back into things here real soon. So let's get right into our sponsors. Guys, winter is here and we are in the thick of it, and a storm's a brewing. It looks like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taking place in your pants. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with beautiful snowballs. Manscaped is here to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Because of their ceramic blade and advanced skin-safe technology with the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, your snags on your snowballs will be reduced. The trimmer is also waterproof, so you can trim in the shower or jacuzzi if you're an absolute savage. And guys, we got a great deal for you. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code BRAWL at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Just use the code BRAWL. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped. Again, use the code BRAWL. Thanks, Manscaped, for making our winter wieners look so damn good. And guys, I got to ask you, do you want to make some money? Well, it's easy. All you got to do is go to dkng.co/brawl. All right. Just create your DraftKings Sportsbook account and make a deposit. DraftKings will credit your account with a boost. Then place your bet, sweat it out. Again, just go to dkng.co/brawl to play. That's dkng.co/brawl. Act quickly. This offer will end very soon. All right. So, new customers only, minimum $5 first time deposit and wager is permitted, a max $50 wager, and there's only one offer per customer. Eligibility restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full terms and conditions. All right, guys, we are back and let's get right into it. And I wanted to play a little clip here because I'm going to ask you guys. Rob Nikovich kind of kicked it off, and I want to ask you guys if you are buying this little hype train that started about Gronk coming over to Miami. I'm going to play this clip for you guys if you're not familiar with it, so you can hear exactly what went on. Because again, this was on Get Up, I believe. So I'm going to play this here, and I want to get your guys' thoughts. You can, whichever one of you guys want to take it away right off the rip after you hear it. Hey, the floor is yours, guys. All right, let's play this for everyone to hear. And here we go.
Rob Gronkowski this offseason. Let's hear it.
So Rob Gronkowski has not been a free agent ever in his career. This is the first time that he's actually a free agent in the open market where he can choose and go wherever he wants. So I think he's going to stay in Florida, but he's going to go to the Miami Dolphins. He's got a place in Miami. It's a great spot for him. No state income tax, right? He's going to stay in that category. And I think that Deshaun Watson is going to be his quarterback because Nico's going to call up Caserio. He's going to say, hey, I got a 3rd overall pick in the first round. I got an 18 in the first round. I got a 36 in the second round. And I got Tua. How about Deshaun comes over to Miami? I think that we're going to have a Gronk, Deshaun Watson duo next year.
Okay. We got a lot to dissect there. All right. So let's start off with this whole Gronk thing. Are you guys buying or are you selling on the Gronk to Miami?
I'll start it off. I'm he's about to make me go back to an old movie. I love Rob. I know they got to sell stuff on TV and stuff like that, but I'm going to go back to a movie back in the day, Beverly Hills Cop 1. And Axel Foley was played by Eddie Murphy, and he had a police chief by the name of Inspector Todd. But in the movie, Eddie Murphy said something like, don't go for the banana in the tailpipe. And I mean, either he's smoking Newports or Black & Milds that's laced or whatever. But I'm like, bruh, at some point, somebody just got to say stop. It's no need. We keep bringing up Deshaun Watson. Gronkowski loves Tom Brady. We know the relationship. If Tom was coming to Miami, Gronk would be coming to Miami. So I get I don't know if he's trying to be funny or whatever, but they put this out there, and then the fans go for it and think that that's not going to happen. So just open your windows up, let that smoke clear out, and just come back to normal. But whatever you do, don't inhale that. I heard that. I was like, oh my goodness, that's bad. I'm not buying none of that. I mean, that's snake oil at the best I've seen. So I'm going to give it to you, BallGame. That's all I got to say about that. That
Bro,
was pretty bad.
I just got to say this. I've said this before. You are an absolute national treasure because Beverly Hills Cop is one of my favorite movies of all time. And when you brought up the banana in the tailpipe, oh my God, a perfect analogy. You already killed them with the equalizer. Now you got to come with the Eddie Murphy. And for a moment there, I thought you were going to bust out the Eddie Murphy laugh. I'm not even lying. All right. BallGame, what are your thoughts on the whole situation? And you know what? Like Richmond, give us your thoughts of why they're just not letting this Deshaun Watson stuff die. Because, guys, Tua changed his answer. It's over and done with. Clearly, Brian Flores said, yo, go out and tell them you're the starting quarterback next year because that's what he did. BallGame, I know you got so much passion on the Watson subject. Let it rip here and let it rip on Gronk because I imagine it's on the same level.
Yeah, so first thing first, man, I'm all for people having the ability to go out and say whatever they want to say. But at some point, there needs to be people that are walking around with them ready to smack them in the face for their stupidity. Whoever that guy is, whoever the guy that allowed him to make that statement and him for making it, both of them need to be taken out back and flogged a bit. Because to me, all you doing is setting yourself up to let people know really when none of this stuff manifests how stupid you really are. The team has already rallied behind our quarterback. Anyone with any common sense know that Tua Tagovailoa is our guy, and Deshaun Watson will not be a Miami Dolphin. So let it go, people. I don't understand it. I mean, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And talking about Gronk coming to Miami to play with Watson. Now, why would Gronk, a guy who left New England and retired because he said his body needed to heal, come back only for the guy that he played for in New England? Why would he leave? Why would he go play for anyone when he can play for Tom for all of his days? That's like saying, without a shout out, that you're gonna take a German Shepherd, purebred German Shepherd, and you're gonna go get a Rottweiler and you're gonna make them two together. They don't mix. But you got Gronk, you know what I'm saying? That makes no sense, right? It makes no sense whatsoever. You wouldn't do that. And you're not gonna sell those puppies. You might be foolish enough to get somebody to buy one or two, but you're not gonna make a whole lot of money off of that. But my thing is, Gronk only gonna play for Tom, and he has the exclusivity of being able to decide that. Now, Tampa Bay will do whatever they have to do to ensure that those two are happy together. But the man came out of retirement specifically for Tom Brady. He's not coming to South Beach. Let that go. Yeah. Whoever that guy is, man, send me his email address, bro. I got a few choice things to tell him and make sure he understands. If he really got an issue with it, we can talk about it face to face. But stop with the foolishness.
Let him know, BallGame.
Gee whiz, man.
I told y'all he had the passion for that one and it was about to come out. Y'all thought I was lying, but I ain't. Oh, man, I love it. Oh, it's beautiful stuff. All right, let's keep going here. There's big news in Dolphin land yesterday as, in my opinion, one of the best kickers in football was locked up on a 5-year, $22 million extension. And his impact with that extension this year on the cap, he's only going to be making about $1 million. It's actually not that much of an increase in terms of this year. And $22 million over 5 years. You compare it to Justin Tucker's deal, and it's a pretty damn good deal. And I want to get your thoughts, guys. Is this extension good? Is this bad? Because of that $22 million, only $10 million is guaranteed. Richmond, let's start off with you because, hey, I believe you were around when Pete Stoyanovich missed that big field goal against the Chargers. So you know how much a good kicker matters, right? Especially in high pressure situations. What are your thoughts on this Jason Sanders deal?
I thought it was a great deal. I think what you got to look at is when you got a group of guys on a team, you normally have a core that you want to try to keep together. So anytime you have a guy, and kind of like y'all were saying earlier with Xavier Howard, if you can extend him before his contract comes up, you get to average that over the cap. That brings your cap number down. The player's happy, you happy, and it's for the betterment of the team rather than letting everybody's contract expire. Then you got to go out and give them this, and you can't average that. So I thought it was a smart move by the Dolphins. Jason Sanders, he's one of the best in the game right now. And like you said, only counts $10 million against the cap. And at that time, if they have to make a decision, they can either renegotiate again or they can say, okay, we're going to go in a different direction. So I thought it was best for both parties. It gives them an opportunity to put a little bit more money in the bank and still stay where you're at. You know how everything works. You see where everything is going as far as the development of the team and things turning around, stuff like that. So it was a great deal. So kudos to the Dolphins and congratulations, Jason. Glad you were able to get this deal worked out and happy you're going to continue to be in a Dolphin.
For sure. BallGame, what are your thoughts on the extension with Jason Sanders?
Man, you always secure the money, man. This dude is money. He is instant offense for us. Anytime we're inside of his zone, that's those are points on the board, and that's what he got paid for. He got paid for his consistency. He got paid for the fact that when he needed to be caught up on, he didn't falter, and he was money in the bag. So I'm good with it. And like Richmond said, whenever you can sign them to their deals prior to the previous contract being getting exhausted, that's a win-win for everyone because he gets fresh new money. He doesn't have to worry about going through this whole process later down the line of whether or not he actually going to get signed or if they're going to try to bring somebody else in to replace him. They already made a commitment to him to let him know, listen, you're our guy. So now he can just go out there and do what he does and be the best at it because I believe he's the best kicker in the league right now. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man.
My follow-up on this is, and I'm before we get into the Tua stuff here, okay, so my follow-up on this is, what do you do with guys like Jerome and Gesicki? Because if you have to franchise tag them next year, the franchise tag on Gesicki is going to be about $11.5 million, and the franchise tag on a guy like Jerome is going to be about $16 million. So where do you guys stand with, do you get ahead? Do you move off one of the guys? Because I personally don't think, I think Jerome's going to want to get paid. And, for a guy who's basically an off-the-ball blitzer who blitzes between the tackles, he's not very instinctual. His read and recognition game leaves a lot to be desired. He's not an ideal mic fit. His best trait is his makeup speed. A lot of his tackles come from 5+ yards down the field, not at or behind the line of scrimmage. What do you guys think about, because you guys both mentioned getting ahead of the extension so you can spread it out throughout the cap? What do you guys, and I'll start with you, BallGame, and then I'll get to you, Richmond. What do you think about paying and extending those two specific guys?
I think they're going to be targets early. I think the fact that Flores Jerome Baker's a Flores guy, so he loves the kid. I've been saying that over and over again. I think Jerome also loves Flores to the point that maybe what he's owed, he won't take and try to go after the take and still make decent money, to stay with the squad as well because of his love and affinity for the team and for Flores. And that has to play. And I think a lot of times now what we're going to see, guys, people out there in Dolphin land is our players are going to take less money to stay because they believe in Flores and Greer and what's being built here. And that needs to be the trend, I think, across the league to some extent. But, I think they'll be the first two targets next year.
I got to ask you, BallGame.
Yeah.
Are you weary of getting into double digits financially in terms of $10 million plus for a guy like Jerome for what he actually is in this defense?
Yeah. And only that because I haven't seen them expand his role. So paying him that amount of money for specifically what he does, I can get that from someone way younger and way more of a scheme fit and not have to worry about it. But if he's willing to come off of that price, right, and meet us to give us some leeway to be able to do some other things, then yeah, I'll meet you. I'll meet you at a number that we're both comfortable with, and you can continue to stay here and build with us in this process. Because I think overall, that's what's gonna matter more, man. The money is important, but I think these guys want to establish and continue to build towards this legacy of greatness that they're looking to have out in front of them. And true players of the game and true people like Richmond will tell you, it didn't matter. It really didn't matter how much money they paid him if they wasn't winning. If they hadn't been winning, I mean, they don't win no games, man. It don't matter, man. That's a horrible feeling in your gut, man, to be at the highest level. Even, man, it don't matter, period. If you're a competitor, right, what you want to do is be the last man standing. It don't matter how much money they paying you if you still sitting at home watching everybody else get it done. So I'm telling you, I believe the Dolphins are going to be one of the teams that are going to start a whole nother type of trend going forward in regards to you seeing players taking these deals. Well, Mahomes already did it for Kansas City, but a lot of our players are going to look at that too and be like, you know what? We can keep this thing together if I don't take this much of the pot. And I believe that guy earns this money and he needs to get paid too. So let me get to a number that makes sense for both of us, that they're comfortable with and I'm comfortable with, and we can back away from the table and say, you know what? Yeah, let's continue this thing. And I believe that's what's going to happen with Baker and with Gesicki, to be truthful.
So. And Richmond, what are your thoughts on getting ahead on their extensions? And also, you were a guy who was in the locker room. How important and what kind of message does it send when you take care of your own?
Yeah, I think this could already be in the works. I mean, we just got hit with the Jason Sanders deal. And a lot of times you start the conversation, sometimes even before, the season is over. Hey, we'd like to try to get something worked out. We'd like what you're doing, this and that. And a lot of time I've even seen players from other teams, like I said, when you can get an extension done, this and that, it makes sense for the team and it makes sense for the player. You're happy. And I think one of the things that stands out with Coach Flores, and you've heard him and you've heard players say, when you can trust what somebody is telling you versus somebody tell you one thing and then you go behind them and it's something totally different, you're not going to feel comfortable. So you'd be like, if they were telling you, hey, we want to keep you here, if you couldn't trust them, you'd be like, they just lip service. They just tell me that. But Coach Flores is a stand-up guy, and I think he looks his players in the eye and tell them, hey, we like what you're doing. We want you to be here, this and that. So I could see that they're already starting to work on some of those core guys that they want to keep with the team and try to keep this nucleus together. And I agree. You can make all the money in the world, but if you're a competitor, you don't want to go and say, I'm the highest paid guy, and then you lose it, you're going 2-14 or 3-13. That's not no fun. And that's why the first season that Coach Flores took over and see those guys go out and continually peak knowing they really didn't have a chance, but they finally got it swung around to where they won 5 games that season. To me, that was huge because I didn't even have that expectation for them. So these guys are buying into the process. They believe in it. And like I said, Patrick Mahomes, but it's other players. I mean, we don't like him as much, but I mean, you look at Tom Brady, he's done that several years, even when he was in New England. He never tried to get the max contract. I think he understood, to him, it's more about winning rings and putting jury on your hand than saying I'm the highest paid quarterback and then, not going out and being able to compete. And, now he's got seven rings. Yeah. So it's not a better example than that, so.
Yeah, and yeah. Richmond, you're clearly right? He basically, do I want to get paid or do I want to be the GOAT? And it also doesn't hurt when your wife is racking up serious money, right? I wanted to ask you one thing before we move on, Richmond. And I want to ask you this specific because I wanted to know, you've went through the contract situations in Miami. You obviously talked to other players who went through contract situations on your team. Did the no state tax play a factor in taking a little bit less for any of you guys?
it definitely played a factor for guys that would come from other teams, and that's one thing that stood out. Like when I played, I knew it was Miami, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and I think Tennessee, Dallas, and before Tennessee moved to Dallas and Houston, those were the teams that had no state taxes. So you knew that right away. But, we've had guys come from, like, say, Detroit or New England or the state of New York, and they would get paid the same amount of money, but they was like, man, I'm making way more money down here because you're not paying another, 7 or 8% in state taxes coming out. You still got to pay when you go play in that city, but, half of your games you're playing in the state of Florida. If we go play Tampa or one of those others, you might get 9 or 10 games that you're playing in a state where it's no state taxes. So it makes a huge difference. And I think we talked about this last week with Orlando Brown, playing in Baltimore. And they might say, hey, you might could come down and get $1 million or $2 million less, but you almost making the same amount of money as if you would have stayed in Maryland or whatever, because they have state taxes there. So it plays a huge implication in guys making that decision. And now the decision even becomes easier because, we finished second in the division and they see the turnaround and they see the progress. And they're like, hey, if I go here and win, and in November, it's not a comparison in the weather in Baltimore versus Florida. I'll tell you that December, whatever, it's, if it gets down in the high 40s in South Florida, that's cold weather. And it's hard to beat. And the light, just the scenery and everything, it's hard to beat South Florida. So with no state taxes, that definitely plays a huge role.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, let's get into our final topic of the show today. Some very interesting charts came out. I'm going to share. I got 5 of them here, and we're going to go through each one. I'm going to show them all, and then we're going to revert back to the one that I think means the most here, just for for our eyes and everyone's eyes here that are watching. So let's start. Okay, so let's start from the end here. You go look. In terms of attempts on deep balls, right? If you go look where Tua Tagovailoa sits, he only had 23 attempts, and 11 of those came under pressure. All right? So if we keep rolling here a little bit, and we keep adding more context to the situation as we keep going here, when you go take a look at Tua in terms of all throws of 21 to 25 air yards, Tua was tied for 8th, okay, at 62.5% accuracy rate when the ball traveled 21 to 25 yards in the air before being completed. Now, if we continue further on, because this only gets better and better for everyone to see here, if we keep going on, Tua on all throws of 21 plus yards to the middle of the field, Tua was tied for 4th in the NFL with a completion percentage of 75% throwing over the middle of 21 plus yards. All right. And we all know that 4th was a drop paging Jakeem Grant. All right. Now, if we keep going even further, of 21 plus yards in the air through tight windows, it only continues to get impressive for Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa finished top 10. He finished 9th, 6 of 18, 44.4 accuracy percentage on those throws. The accuracy on the attempts, 8 of 18. So you got to look beyond the completions into the accuracy. Once again, now let's blow them away even further. When you go in to Tua, and this is going to be the real eye-opener. Remember, I said he only had 23 attempts, and 11 of those came from pressure situations. So when we talk about clean pockets, guys, remember, when he went into that Buffalo game, he was the only quarterback, in the NFL who had 10-plus touchdowns, starting quarterback, and 0 interceptions from a clean pocket heading into the Buffalo Bill game. So when we look at Tua, on all throws of 21 plus yards downfield in a clean pocket, Tua Tagovailoa was number 2 in the NFL, only behind tied with Russell Wilson and only behind Matthew Stafford. You know, the accuracy when you break down the analytics for that we all loved and adored from Alabama is there. And what's even crazier about these numbers, guys, it's the context of the situation where it wasn't an ACL injury. It was a way more traumatic injury. An ACL, we've all talked about this privately, takes about a year and a half to come back from, and then another 6 months to get right. This is way more of a mentally and body traumatic injury that he went through. And we have all agreed he was in a rehab body playing at 210. He was not the rip Tua at 217 in Alabama. And me and BallGame are both on record thinking he's going to come back around 220. Jack like a brick, you know what, this year. And, you know, you could tell at times he didn't trust the protection. He had over 187 pressures. Who would? All right. He didn't trust the receivers at times. You saw Jakeem Grant. Who would? And, you know, it was clearly evident at times he just didn't trust his body. And that's all mental because of the trauma that happened of the injury. So when and y'all know how I feel about Chan Gailey and how porous of a job he did calling the games with Tua compared to what he was calling with Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're not even going to go into that. So he's battling all these different factors, and we're still seeing the accuracy that had him as a number 1 pick talk if he didn't get injured, and still number 5 with that bad of an injury.
Mm-hmm.
All right. BallGame. Let's start
sir.
with you, and then Richmond, we're getting to you next. What do you take away when you look at these accuracy charts, and should this give Miami Dolphins fans more hope of the leap this kid could take this year? Because, again, of all the context I just provided, he clearly physically and mentally wasn't where he needed to be, but he still provided you all this. And let's be honest, he only had 2 interceptions going into that Buffalo Bills game. And the only reason he threw 3 is they said, let it rip, kid. Just go out there and do it.
Right.
So let's go, BallGame. Let's hear your thoughts on this whole situation.
Hey man, for me, all these charts do is reconfirm exactly what I felt all along. We watched the all 22s, man, and I looked at what he was working with in terms of the wide receiving core, and I was looking at the throws that he was making. And for me, I said, and we had this conversation, that I felt like he was still working through the PTSD situation in his mind of his injury. But these analytics confirm for me also that he's still in there. The kid we fell in love with, the kid that we want to lead this team to prominence, is still in there, and he showed up, you know what I'm saying, in a major way in categories that the casual fan won't ever really give him credit for. But these are the things that matter the most. This guy's going to be able to give you the accuracy piece. I don't care how big a quarterback's arm is, but if he can't hit the broadside of a barn, if he can't hit that wide receiver crossing through the zone on that slant, or on that low drag, or even on that crossing route, then what's the point of that big old cannon? I don't see Justin Herbert anywhere up at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And not to knock Herbert with that cannon, but you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna take accuracy any day over a guy with a huge cannon, because that was one of the downfalls that, that's one of the things that even Josh Allen up there in Buffalo had to learn. Right. And I don't necessarily know that he's still learned it completely, because they got him a wide radius catching, they got him a target that has a wide catch radius to kind of deal with some of his inaccuracies. He's got the big arm, but the accuracy ain't there. And I don't need Tua to be standing right there trying to throw the ball 70 yards. I need him doing exactly what he was trying to do last year. Hit the guys in spots that only they could catch the ball. That, to me, defines the true essence of who he is as a quarterback. And also tells me that 2 things I ain't got to worry about. I don't have to worry about this kid being the reason that we're going to go out there and have the game taken from us. It'll be something else, because he's going to, 1, take care of the ball, and 2, he's going to put the ball really in on a place that our guys can get it. And that's not what every quarterback is doing. The metrics clearly tells you that some guys just doing extremely horrible at it. And I'm good, man. I'm good on the numbers. I had already seen it for myself. We saw it. We already broke down essentially what it was, but this is more for the casual fan that's saying, "Oh man, he's all over the place. He was this, that, and the other." Well, nope. Now you got the numbers, so shut up. Focus up, look at what's in front of you, and pay attention. That's what this is about. So,
Richmond, I mean, your thoughts on these accuracy charts. Also, when you add in the context of of what I said, but also, like I said earlier, Gesicki and DVP only averaged 1.7 yards of separation. Tua had about a 22% aggression rate when throwing, which means, according to Next Gen Stats, that's a throw, whether completion or incompletion, with 1 yard or less of separation on the route from the receiver. You know what I mean? So he had no help from the receiver corps either. What are your thoughts when you look on this? And I know a lot of people, especially here watching tonight, want to hear your overall perspective of Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback, and what you feel about his game, because, everyone knows you played with Marino. So a lot of people hold your opinion in high regard when it comes to quarterback. So give us your thoughts on these accuracy numbers, and then give us your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback.
Yeah. Like BallGame said, this is probably more for the fan. I've stated previously that, I watched this kid play in college, and I know the tremendous upside that he has. So I think what people are not understanding is the way our defense played this year. A lot of times he wasn't in a situation where he had to go out and win the football game. And he played smart football. He did what was necessary. And when he first started playing, when he was out there, the offense was extremely conservative. So they really didn't try to open it up or whatever. So you got to take all those factors into consideration. But know how I feel about it. But even more, I mean, I would say take a guy that's like Coach Flores, a guy that's, before he became a coach, he was also a guy that scouted for New England. He coached at several positions, this and that. So he knows how to evaluate players. And like we've all said before, when this kid was number 5 in the draft, if he doesn't get hurt, he's the first player taken off the board. So he has that type of caliber. I don't need to be convinced. I really didn't need to see the charts. I know what we have, but this is for the fans, and sometimes you got to provide content and information and inform them so they can learn and say, okay, maybe I'm not looking at this the right way. And I think that's good that you were able to pull these charts up so people can see it's easier for me to say, no, he's this and that, but, the stats don't lie. So when they can look at it for their own self and say, okay, I see why he's making some of these, how he's coming up with his determination. You're supporting what you're saying based on the stats and the charts that's being provided, not by you, but by the NFL. So it just supports what you've been saying. And like I say, man, get a kid a chance. But I'm telling you, I'm already happy because I already know what's going to happen. I really believe in this kid. He's one of those type of players, and you're going to see. I think you're going to see a huge upswing with him this year, along with the players that they surround him with. I think everybody's going to be really happy this year.
Just want people to keep that energy too.
Yeah. Hey, man, I was saying that when we drafted him, right? I want that same energy when this kid starts balling out. And I saw something today. I think it was, I want to say Sports Illustrated, and they polled 10 writers, and everyone was asking about who's going to have the biggest second-year leap, and Tua made that list. So, people are gonna be in for a rude awakening when he shows up with his football body and not his rehab body. And it's gonna be, Richmond said it. Someone's got to pay for all this, man. Yeah. All right. And the equalizer's about to walk on the field, and the AFC East is going to be the first to pay, and then the AFC is going to pay, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. Yeah, all right. So, guys, let's get your final thoughts before we get out of here. Richmond, let's start with your final thoughts for tonight.
Yeah, Ben, I'm really glad, everybody was on board to come together and make this decision to do the video with the audio. I think people will have an opportunity, once you post the videos and stuff like that on your channel and stuff, to go see, and it's different. It's good to listen to it, but sometimes when you see us interact and stuff like that, I think people can appreciate that more. And I was also say go to Phinish Line NFL. That's the YouTube channel of Reasons. Click, subscribe, support my brother. He's close to 3,000. I want to see him get over 3,000 and continue to grow his channel and spread the word, share his videos. And he's got over 100, and I think I saw 180 videos. So there's a lot of content out there. So just go back and you can click through them. And it's a way you can educate yourself, especially if you're a Dolphin fan. And, just supporters, I always tell people on Twitter, hey, let us know how we're doing. If it's something you think we can improve, I think we all take constructive criticism, this and that. But I appreciate you listening. I appreciate interacting with my brothers, BallGame and Reason, and they always show me love, this and that. So we have a great time. But I anytime we can try to provide something for the fans to educate you guys and make it more where you can have an understanding and help some of the other people that don't, I'm happy to. So I'm having fun, and I thank you just for listening to us and giving us an opportunity.
And Richmond, I'm absolutely humbled by your little plug there. And I just want you to know, man, I'm so glad we started doing this, and we've, the three of us have cultivated this relationship because, I consider you a brother. I consider you a very good friend, and it's been an absolute honor and pleasure to continue to do this with you. And guys, if you haven't heard, next year, we are getting this man in the Hall of Fame. You cannot talk about the tackle position without this man being in the conversation as one of the best ever. So, I love and respect Zach Thomas. I think he deserves it, but I will stick to my guns. Richmond deserves it just as much, and, in my opinion, more. I mean, you cannot talk about that tackle position, especially in the 90s, without this man. And on top of it, as amazing of a player he was, he's an even more amazing human being. He is one of the most humblest people you will ever meet, and his football aptitude and knowledge is through the roof. And guys, he's a natural at this. So next year, we are leading the push to get Richmond into Canton because no one deserves it more than this man.
Big facts.
BallGame, and I know you back that up. BallGame,
Yes.
Let's get your final thoughts, my friend.
So for me, man, I second everything you just said, man. I never would in a million years thought to myself that I would have been in the presence of greatness and been able to be on a podcast every week with Richmond, man. And this has been I'm every week, man. I'm like a little kid, man, because I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I'm with a future Hall of Famer. I'm with a future Hall of Famer. But I also get to do this with my brother from another mother. You know what I'm saying? Of from Canada too. So it's no miss with me, man. I mean, it's just all gravy, bro. I think across the board, man, if nothing else, people need to start really taking some time and truly diving into the content and listening to what we're saying. I mean, a lot of this stuff is not from anywhere other than just experience around this game and watching and knowing, you know what I'm saying, the ins and outs, and then people in the organizations and around the league to give you the best information possible so that, you understand why the Dolphins make moves they make and why players have to move on and why we keep certain guys and things of that nature. Being a casual fan is cool, but, you know what I'm saying, taking some time to really invest in truly educating yourself about the essence of the game behind the game can also make you that much more a true, what would I say? Yeah, a true connoisseur of the sport. You feel me? And then without you having to stand by and listen to somebody always want to Tommy gun you, because I'm always on the ready to shoot down anyone with some foolishness.
Especially at Home Depot.
Yeah. That's another story for another time. But yeah. And people probably ask, why would I Home Depot with BallGame? Well, that's another story for another time. But yeah, all in all, man, I'm blessed, man, because there's no football going on, but I still got my brothers to be able to talk football with and, share life stories and life experiences and give the people something that they need, man, especially in the midst of this pandemic and this cold storm that's sweeping the nation. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. I'm glad to be here. I'm always going to be here, man. I love you guys, man.
I appreciate you both, man. All right, guys. As usual, we will be right back right there at the finish line. So you can make sure to catch us next week back at our usual spot, iTunes and Spotify. And all you got to do is search Dolphins Brawl, and we pop up because we are the only podcast holding it down on Dolphins Brawl. And let's be honest, we are turning into what I think one of the best podcasts out there in Dolphin Nation. So guys, hop on board because this was just a preview of what we do weekly, and it's absolutely great conversation and great stuff you should all tune into. So until next week, when we see you at the finish line, you already know what time it is, guys. It's fins up all day, every day.